You're standing at the edge of an island nation shaped by water, stone, and time, the Philippines. Scattered across the Pacific, thousands of islands rise from the sea, home to millions, yet still ruled by places where nature speaks louder than people. Here, rivers glow with impossible blues, caves plunge into darkness, lagoons breathe in silence, and waterfalls fall as if the earth itself is exhaling. There are roads that end without warning, bridges that cross more than distance, and coastlines where the horizon feels endless. This doesn't feel like a destination you visit. It feels like a world you enter, where nature is still the undisputed ruler, hiding in plain sight on Earth. Hundred Islands. Honored as the country's first national park, this island group is like a great sculpture masterpiece, strictly protected by nature in the vast ocean. The magic is that over 100 green islands are actually ancient fossilized coral reefs, rising from the deep sea floor 2 million years ago. Time and ocean waves have patiently carved the island bases for thousands of years, creating giant mushroom shapes with deep, artistic cuts. Not just lifeless rocks, the hollow caves inside become a safe sanctuary for thousands of fruit bats to live and grow. When the tide goes down, the sea seems to open up to show smooth white sand strips, allowing visitors to walk from island to island right on the ocean floor. Ruling on the highest peak is the majestic statue of Christ with open arms, like the copy of Rio de Janeiro, turning this place into a spiritual home between sea and sky. Nakpan Beach. Rising above normal standards, Nakpan Beach proudly wears the king crown, ruling over a wild and magical tropical paradise. The land of this king is a continuous strip of sand 2.5 miles long, opening up an endless space where ocean and land meet. Instead of cold white sand, this beach chooses a warm, creamy golden silk carpet, shining bright to catch every ray of sunlight. Wrapping around that silk strip are thousands of green coconut trees weaving together, looking from above like a soft, natural wall protecting the sand day and night. The absolute peace of this land has turned it into a sacred nursery for olive ridley sea turtles, where new life quietly begins every season. That perfect mix of nature scenery and pure life has put this place in the top 10 most beautiful beaches on the planet, a title worthy of its original beauty. Agusan Bridge. If the ocean has the longest bridge, San Juanico, then amidst the majestic mountains, Agusan proudly wears the crown of the highest bridge in the Philippines. Hanging at a height of 276 feet from the ravine bottom, this structure is equal to a 29-story skyscraper rising in the middle of the old forest. That dizzying height makes the bridge often sink in a sea of clouds every morning, creating a feeling like vehicles are gliding on heaven. Hiding behind that romantic beauty is a tough steel structure, designed to stand firm against violent geological tremors up to magnitude 8 without collapsing. This is a masterpiece created with the technical support of the Japanese government, proving the master level in conquering the harshest disaster terrains. Now that concrete silk strip has become a vital link of the national highway, ensuring the traffic blood flows day and night from north to south. San Juanico Bridge. More than just a lifeless traffic structure, San Juanico rises tall as a legendary engineering monument, marking the golden age of Southeast Asia in the 70s. With a record length of 1 mile, The bridge looks like a giant steel silk strip, as long as 20 football fields lined up, proudly crossing the vast ocean. The curving S-shapes are not just for beauty, but a smart physical shield, helping to cancel the destructive resonance of storm winds and strong currents. Few people know that the origin of this wonder was a luxury birthday gift from a president to his wife, turning it into the most expensive confession of love in the country's history. That romantic vibe becomes most passionate at sunset, when the sun falls right between two mountain ranges, covering the narrow strait with a dramatic fiery red color. And that strong life was proven when the historic super typhoon Haiyan flattened everything, but the bridge still stood firm as a proud challenge to nature. Mantig Islands. Amidst the vast ocean, Mantig appears not as a soulless sandbar, but as an oval emerald, holding an amazingly complex ecosystem. With a modest size of only 10 acres, the magic lies in the fact that more than half of the island heart is covered by a thick and original tropical rainforest. Going deep into that green core, visitors will meet ancient rough pandanus trees stretching their tangled root arms, holding tight to the earth through ups and downs. This wild beauty turns the jungle walk into a lively Jurassic Park movie scene where humans get lost in a primitive world. That shady forest canopy is also a peaceful stop for tired, migratory bird flocks mixing their songs with the whispering sound of waves day and night. And to fully protect that life, nature has generously given a very healthy fringing coral reef, hugging the island like a strong castle wall. Kangaman Islands. Amidst the vast ocean, This island appears like a lonely but proud oasis where nature rules completely and there are no permanent human footsteps. The piece on the surface hides a dramatic terrain underneath, as the sea floor surrounding it does not slope gently, but drops suddenly into the deep abyss. Right at the very end of the white sand strip, the crash of two ocean currents creates extremely strong rip currents acting as a tough warning from the sea. From the view above, the whole island looks exactly like a giant white bird, spreading its soft wings, flying freely in the middle of the deep blue sea background. That isolation in the open sea, without electric lights, turns the night here into a magnificent stage where the Milky Way appears clearly to the naked eye. Few people know that the green coconut rows dancing in the wind today are the strong proof of an extraordinary rebirth from the ruins after the historic super typhoon in 2013. Maria Christina Falls. Standing proudly in the southern island, Maria Christina Falls is like a roaring silver giant, showing the absolute power of wild nature. From a height of 320 feet, equal to a 30-story tower, the water rushes down with crushing force, creating an endless song in the jungle. That strong life is fed by a giant freshwater lake sitting right on an ancient volcanic mouth, gathering water to keep the flow running forever. The wild waterfall standing next to the modern power plant is emotional proof of the human struggle to find a fragile balance between saving nature and growing energy. Cayangan Lake does not simply appear as a scenic view, but creates the feeling of entering a rare, silent space where nature still holds complete control. The surrounding environment reflects a belief that water is the origin of life, making every movement on the surface feel protected and deeply respected. The water clarity allows underwater visibility beyond 33 feet, creating the sensation of floating in open air rather than swimming. The mirror calm surface reflects towering limestone cliffs, forming a closed space that makes human presence feel remarkably small. Beneath the lake, layered limestone formations preserve ancient geological order, as if history itself rests quietly below the surface. Swimming and snorkeling here become more than observation, offering a rare moment where silence, balance, and untouched nature are fully felt. Tanago Falls. Like a secret treasure, Tanago lives up to its name, which means hidden, staying completely away from the noisy roads above. Resting deep in the canyon, where the sun rarely shines, the water keeps an eternal coldness that gives a shocking freeze to anyone jumping in. Flowing over flat rocks, the water does not crash down hard, but spreads out gently like a giant white silk curtain covering the cliff. The closed shape of the canyon acts like a natural sound box, making the roaring water echo and sound much louder in the air. To see this magic, visitors must walk down a winding staircase of about 500 steps, the only path leading down to the earth. Standing at the bottom, looking up at the high walls, we feel tiny, like little ants, held inside the giant hand of Mother Nature. Sohoton Cove. Some waters exist not only to be seen, but to slow time itself, where emerald water stays almost unchanged all year, and tall limestone walls close the space like an ancient ocean embrace. Sunlight reflecting from bright limestone and extremely clear water allows underwater visibility of about 30 to 60 feet, making the underwater world look like an ancient memory of the sea. These limestone formations were created from ancient marine life remains over tens of millions of years, preserving stories of prehistoric oceans inside each rock layer. The environment feels separated from noise because the stone walls absorb and reflect sound, leaving only soft water movement and light wind. Over geological time, limestone dissolves extremely slowly, only a few millimeters every 100 years, quietly forming caves and rock passages over thousands of years. Because the water is unusually clear, people can observe rock-living organisms directly from the surface, creating the feeling of entering untouched nature without diving deep. Hidden deep in the tropical coconut forest, the Maasin River is like a surreal emerald gem, completely separated from the noisy outside world. When the sun is high, light beams shine through the leaves, creating a magical effect, highlighting the deep green water made by algae and millions of tree reflections. Surrounding the flow is the only unique palm species on the planet that grows in brackish water, with roots digging deep into the mud to stop erosion naturally. Sadly, the famous bent coconut tree that was once the soul of the river broke in 2023 due to storms, ending a legendary era. The loss of that symbol is a sad but meaningful reminder that natural beauty is not forever, so we must cherish it while we can. Today, to keep the water clear, people only use bamboo rafts or paddle by hand, removing all motor noise to protect the magical green color. Enchanted River makes an immediate impact with its unusually deep blue water, creating the impression of a depth that seems to have no end. This blue color does not come from algae, but from significant depth combined with the light-absorbing quality of exceptionally clean water. The river is short in length, yet remarkably deep, completely defying the typical structure of a natural river. This compact, deep, and motionless form has placed Enchanted River among the most mysterious rivers in Asia. For a long time, the river was regarded as a sacred space, protected by the belief that its waters should never be polluted. Swimming in the dark blue water without seeing the bottom creates a rare experience that feels both peaceful and quietly unsettling. Magpapunco. Resting on the east coast, Magpapunco is not just a beach, but a great sculpture of time where rock and water dance together forever. The highlight is the lonely giant rock, a strong survivor remaining after millions of years of being worn down by wind and waves and separated from the land. Beneath that stone monument are not permanent lakes, but actually the deep ocean floor that only shows its true face when the tide humbly goes down. This magic only lasts for 4 to 6 hours a day, turning the wild seabed into beautiful emerald pools before being swallowed by the ocean again. In that short, precious moment, the rock holes become a temporary home, trapping thousands of tiny sea creatures, turning this place into a colorful little museum of life. But do not let the peace fool you, because right outside the thin rock barrier are fierce rip currents, always waiting to sweep away anyone who dares to cross nature's limit. Mimbalot Falls. Unlike the proud or hidden beauty of its sisters, Mimbalot chooses the simple style of a friendly neighbor, always opening its arms to welcome visitors. The water here does not rush down with anger, but is held back by hundreds of large rocks to become a very gentle and soothing stream. From afar, the cliff looks like a random art piece where giant stone blocks are piled up like an unfinished puzzle of nature. Thanks to this rare, flat, and forgiving ground, a 3-year-old child and an 80-year-old senior can enjoy nature together in peace. Once Islas. Not showing off luxury, Once Islas appears like a charming whisper of the ocean, with 11 raw islands looking like unpolished gems. Nature has skillfully carved the rough look of this place, with sharp limestone and volcanic rocks in strange and fascinating shapes surrounding the islands. On those barren rocks, life still grows strongly through the pemphis trees, winding through cracks like thousands of natural bonsai art pieces arranged by nature. That beauty is reflected in the record-breaking clear water, where you can see the bottom at a depth of 65 feet with just your naked eyes. Highlighting that deep blue picture are the colorful boats painted with tribal geometric patterns, creating a vivid cultural mark that cannot be mistaken. But deep behind that bright beauty is a sacred silence, because some islands are still the eternal resting places of ancestors where visitors must respect and keep distance. Hibok-Hibok volcano. Among the 7 giants on the Fire Island, Hibok-Hibok is the youngest geologically, but holds the title of the most aggressive and dangerous stratovolcano. The peak is not simply a deep hole, but a collection of rough lava domes pushed up from hell, ready to collapse at any time. But the miracle is that right on that deadly mouth exists a rain lake, calm as a mirror, creating a fascinating, sharp contrast between fire and water. To the locals, the mountain is the double image of the Reaper and Mother Nature, the one who takes life but also gives back fertile soil to the next generation. Loboc River does not overwhelm at first glance, but gently slows everything down as its soft emerald water and dense tropical surroundings pull life into a calmer rhythm. This distinctive green tone is formed by moderate depth, a bright riverbed, and sunlight filtered through thick vegetation, allowing the river to remain clear and visually stable. Because it lacks force or dramatic depth, Loboc River becomes a place of harmony, guiding the eye smoothly rather than demanding attention. Dense tropical trees close in along both banks, forming a continuous green corridor that blurs the boundary between water and the living world around it. Throughout history, the river functioned as a central lifeline, where human activity evolved in step with the natural flow. The prevailing quiet allows visitors not only to see the landscape, but to feel the slow-breathing rhythm of nature itself. Maquinit Hot Spring. Instead of hiding in deep mountains, Maquinit lies by the southern coast, creating a poetic meeting point between the wild land and the vast ocean. The salty taste of the sea makes this place unique, as it is one of the very few saltwater hot springs on Earth, totally different from 99% of normal freshwater pools. The water is not warmed by the sun, but by the hot breath of a dormant volcano deep underground that has been boiling the flow for ages. This mix of underground fire and sea salt creates a level of sulfur and minerals many times higher than usual, offering powerful healing for the skin. When night falls, the hot steam meets the cold air to create thick fog covering the lake, making the scene look mysterious, like an old movie. Finally, the lake bottom is lined with natural pebbles instead of smooth tiles, turning every bare footstep into a relaxing massage therapy. Bawasan Falls. In the heart of the hot island of fire, Bawasan Falls appears as a beautiful paradox, an icy gem holding the title of the highest waterfall in this land. From the steep cliff, 250 feet high, the water takes a spectacular free fall, tearing through the wind for 5 seconds before bursting onto the calm lake surface. That overwhelming height stretches the flow into a soft white silk ribbon, hanging proudly against the vast, deep green background of the tropical jungle. That beauty comes with coldness, as the water carries a freezing temperature like ice, creating an interesting geological contrast right on the land of sleeping volcanoes. This temperature difference is a silent warning, easily causing sudden cramps for any traveler who rushes to jump into the lake while their body is still burning from the sun. And then, standing at the bottom, looking up at the towering peak, humans suddenly feel so tiny before the majesty and dignity of nature. Intramuros, Manila. Praised as the most perfect example of Spanish urban planning in the East, Intramuros rose proudly from a wild swamp that was largely reclaimed. To support the fortress weighing millions of tons, the ancients used volcanic adobe tuff mined from nearby provinces, turning soft mud into a permanent foundation. The armor protecting the city is designed as an irregular pentagon with sharp protruding corners, a calculating structure to resist every attack. Hidden behind that rough look is the absolute order of a Roman-style chessboard street network, something extremely rare amidst the spontaneous growth of Asian cities at that time. For 400 years, this place was the only definition of Manila, an inviolable sanctuary of power opened only for the ruling class and Spaniards. Now, those mossy stones stand there to remind us that the painful colonial past is actually an essential piece, creating this unique mixed cultural identity. Agusan Marsh is a place where the boundary between land and water disappears, creating a rare natural balance that still exists in the modern world. Inside Agusan Marsh, flooded forests, natural lakes, and ancient water channels connect into a massive ecosystem that moves according to rain, flood, and dry season cycles. During the rainy season, Agusan Marsh expands into a silent inland sea where trees appear to grow directly from the water surface. For generations, communities around Agusan Marsh have lived alongside the rhythm of rising and falling water, creating a lifestyle deeply adapted to nature. Traveling by boat through the flooded forests of Agusan Marsh creates the feeling that humans are only a small part of an ecosystem moving slowly through time. Langon Gob Cave opens like an ancient hidden world buried deep underground, where massive limestone structures formed over millions of years create a natural scale far beyond normal human experience. The entire cave system formed as slightly acidic rainwater, slowly dissolved limestone over extremely long geological time, quietly creating giant underground hollow networks beneath the Earth's surface. Moving deeper into the cave often causes humans to lose their sense of time because there is no natural light and no day and night cycle to guide perception. Lake Danao. Hidden in wild nature, Lake Danao is a rare natural freshwater lake sitting at a high altitude, completely separated from the noisy lowlands. Few people know that this wonder was not born from rivers, but actually lies right on the Philippine Fault, a giant geological crack tearing the Earth crust. Hanging at an altitude of about 2,300 feet above sea level, the lake sits as high as the top of a 200-story skyscraper, Because it is so high, thick fog can rush down in just minutes, turning the bright scene into a mysterious horror movie instantly. The history of the lake is also troubled, as in the past, its original name was erased and replaced with the name of a dictator's wife for many years. Sugba Lagoon, Sugba Lagoon. Sugba Lagoon appears not as a river or a lake, but as a silent freshwater ocean, spreading across about 346,000 acres, where floating vegetation and water merge into a landscape that feels endless. During the rainy season, the entire area can transform into a connected network of natural lakes, where open water and dense floating plants constantly reshape the environment. It is one of the largest, relatively intact freshwater wetlands, supporting hundreds of species of birds, fish, reptiles, and aquatic plants adapted to seasonal water changes. During breeding seasons, large numbers of water birds gather, creating one of the most important wildlife observation wetland ecosystems in Southeast Asia. Traveling by boat here means moving through flooded forest instead of rivers, where the boundary between land and water almost disappears. Therefore, this area has become an important national ecological conservation research center.